Hey, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders at Great Millstone. This is Ainah Yahweh with the beloved truth. As you can see in our world, basically, the trend or the culture now, being that it's post 9/11, with the Twin Towers being blown up, we have a culture. I call it a terroristic culture. Okay, only by the means to basically bring fear into a fear tactic towards the citizens of the world. Now that we live in a global um, a global economy, or everybody is a global citizen now. So I got a few videos and stuff, but um, it was just on my heart to basically bring this out. Just showing you the trends. How, but it was all basically generated to be so by the elites. Okay. I just got some through the spirit. I put this together really quick. You know, to basically show you some of the things that they've been doing. I got a few one article and a quotation, well, not a quotation, but this book I was reading, Global Governance 2025. Just a little, just a few paragraphs in that. And Lord willing, you brothers be edified. Through the Spirit, I bring out the scriptures. You know, so you brothers can, see what's basically going on. And the scriptures speak on being a watchman. So this is pretty much keen. Being vigilant and circumspect, and being keen on what's going on and what the elites basically are doing. Okay, so here you go.
Europe has suffered a spate of horrific attacks in recent days and weeks. The deadliest in the French resort of Nice, when a truck plowed into a crowd, killing 85 during Bastille Day celebrations. There have also been 4 separate assaults across Germany, assailants using axes, machetes, guns and bombs. And 2 weeks ago, armed men burst into a French church and cut the throat of a priest. Now, the latest attack hit the southern Belgian city of Charleroi, where an assailant with a machete left 2 police officers injured. Islamic State claimed responsibility. However, the relatively low-key mainstream media coverage of just the latest terror attack on the continent perhaps suggests Europeans are now finally realizing terrorism as an almost daily threat. Laura Smith reports.
Guns in Paris, bombs in Brussels, knives in London, and now a machete-wielding attacker slashing at police in the provincial Belgian city of Charleroi. And in Belgium, at least, people are no longer surprised. It's market day here in Charleroi. People are out enjoying time with their families as usual, in defiance of the weekend's events. But underneath it all, there is a fatalism. Many of the people I spoke to said they had known it would only be a matter of time before terror hit their streets.
After all that's going on in some countries, it had to happen, and I said to my friends, one of these days something is going to happen. And everyone said, oh no, that won't happen here. And what do you know? A few months later, it happened.
I had been expecting it for a long time.
The media talks about it so much that it has become something quite common. We hadn't had it here yet, so here we go.
In Charleroi, though, the media didn't come. Sunday morning saw a couple of local TV crews outside the police station where the attack took place, but by the afternoon they'd all gone. A stark contrast to previous attacks.
Chaos in France once again. A night of celebration forgotten in an instant. The attack in Munich, several dead and the number growing all afternoon.
An axe, a gun, a machete and a bomb. All weapons used on the streets of Germany over the past week.
Meanwhile, another knife-wielding man was stalking the streets of Belgium. Sunday morning in Liège, just 60 miles from Charleroi, news came in of a man with a machete in this district known for its bars and shops. The area was evacuated. Reports didn't reach Charleroi.
Did you hear what happened in Liège this morning?
No, not at all.
No, nothing.
A man with a machete who attacked people.
No, not much about it.
The one at Charleroi?
No, Charleroi was yesterday.
No, sorry, no.
European governments are scrambling to deal with the crisis. The National Security Council met in Belgium on Sunday, reportedly to discuss anti-terror measures. The Prime Minister is calling for calm.
I repeat, the message that I'm sending. We must keep a cool head. We must avoid panic, of course. Not give in to terror. That's the trap that has been set for us.
Don't panic, says the PM. One resident of Charleroi interprets that in another way. We must learn to live with the fear, he says. Laura Smith, RT, Charleroi, Belgium.
Okay, so there you go. Basically, so I'm gonna point out at least 3 things that I see. First, I see a preconditioning via it could be movies, you know, things that the medium puts out there. Okay, the preconditioning lies in the propaganda of the propaganda that's being spewed out. You know, first it started with 9/11 with the terrorist attacks in New York, and we know that was by the auspices of who we called, the devil, so-called white man, which is Esau, Edom more importantly. His name, their name Esau, only to bring in certain agendas. Like here in America, you had the Patriot Act, where the government was allowed to spy on citizens. All right, so it's almost, every action, there's a reaction. Okay, whether it be generated or not. In these senses, these terrorist attacks are, generated. Whether the CIA or FBI, mainly the CIA or any British, undercover intelligence allowed them to, basically open the floodgates for these people to come in and do this sort of things, especially with the immigration that's been going on over there in Europe. All right, due to the Syria ordeal with Bashir al-Assad and the Westerners trying to basically capstone their little enterprise over there as far as with the resources and them trying to get the rest of the Arab Brotherhood out of the picture. But a lot of things are going on, all right, and a lot of things are being generated. Okay, so as you know, chaos is order to the elites. I mean, to have everything in chaos, they have, it's easy for them to establish their order. Okay, so that's one thing. They actually fund and allow certain regimes to, function. Okay, like ISIS. Okay, a lot of the weaponry they got from, a third party, basically. You know, so it's all gradualism towards a culture filled with terrorism, so they can bring in, their counter-terrorism. The point. Okay. Executive summary. There's some points in the book that you can look at, but a lot of it is just a lot of mumbo jumbo about certain tactics that they're gonna use to basically to put in certain frameworks to basically keep their agenda going on an international level. Part of that agenda is the New World Order. Okay, just so you know, it says executive summary: global governance, the collective management of common problems at the international level, is at a critical juncture. Although global governance institutions have racked up many successes since they were developed after the Second World War, the growing number of issues on the international agenda and their complexity is outpacing the ability of international organizations and national governments to cope. says with the emergence of rapid globalization, the risks to the international system have grown to the extent that formerly localized threats are no longer locally containable, but are now potentially dangerous to global security and stability. At the beginning of the century, threats such as ethnic conflicts, which you had in Syria, it says infectious diseases, which you had in Africa, South America. These are the things that's taking toll now. But they had think tanks back in the mid 1900s, even up to the late 1900s, which 1990s. All right, they were basically bringing what had think tanks to basically understand some of the issues that was going to take place, and a lot of them, to be truly honest with you, is generated. All these are generated crises. It says in terrorism as well as a new generation of global challenges, including climate change, energy security, food and water scarcity, international migration flows, and new technologies are increasingly taking center stage. All right, it's becoming a culture. All right, and that's what's happening now. You even have certain governments um, planning for post scarcity of materials, resources. Okay, and the reason being is because there's certain agendas that have to take place for the new world order to basically be sustained. All right. As you can see, they have, if you ever heard of Georgia Guidestones, just the elites basically writing their laws in stone, things that they want to procure, at a certain time. So inscriptions says a message consisting of a set of 10 guidelines or principles and is engraved on the Georgia Guidestones in 8 different languages, one language on each face of the 4 large upright stones moving clockwise around the structure from due north. These languages are English, Spanish, Swahili, Sanskrit, Hebrew, Arabic, Chinese, and Russian. And the number one, and mainly the one thing that sticks out, it says maintain humanity under 500 million. All right, 500 million. Okay, and perpetual balance with nature. Okay, according to a new world order, this is what has to, has to, they have to procure to keep their, uh, you know, their their culture or the new world order sustainable. What that means for, I believe it's 8 billion people on the planet. So that means, or 7 billion people. So that means 6.5 billion people have to be exterminated. Why? Uh, like they said, they're giving you the excuses. Climate change, energy security, food and water scarcity, international migration flows, new technologies are increasingly taking center stage. All right, so a lot of these things are happening only because it's being generated. All right, as you can see, it's part of their law. Okay, and the Georgia Guidestone. But these are the elites we're talking about. Mainly the Rothschilds. The Wahlbergs. Um, the main ones that really have influence on the society and that run the medias of the society, all right? Which a lot of a lot of people know this, you know, um, just by doing research on the Illuminati and their agendas. So let me see. Give me a second. All right, Salaki. I'm back. I had to pause it for a second, but forgot my last talking point, but so basically I just go to the next to this article, okay, that I found. All right. So make sure I'm finished reading this. Okay, let me see. Okay, I'll finish this. It says It says three effects of rapid globalization are driving demands for more effective global governance, meaning police state, militarized police, etc., etc. It says interdependence has been a feature of economic globalization for many years, but the rise of China, India, Brazil, and other fast-growing economies has taken economic independence to a new level. The multiple links among climate change and resources issues that economic crisis and state fragility hubs of risk for future illustrate the interconnected nature of the challenges on the international agenda today. Many of the issues cited above involve interwoven domestic and foreign challenges. Okay, politics creates tight constraints on international cooperation and reduces the scope for compromise. Uh, the shift to a multipolar world is complicating the prospects for effective global governance over the next 10 years. The expanding economic clout of emerging powers increases their political influence well beyond their borders. Power is not only shifting from established powers to rising countries and, to some extent, the developing world, right? Because, for example, you got China. They deal with South Africa and Russia deal with emerging or developing countries. So in that aspects, which are I guess you can say in a nutshell, enemies to the westernized world. Okay, but they all ran by what they would call the Illuminati or the elite banking families. Okay, so I go to the next. We're back in the article. It says terrorized by war on terror. And I'll start where I got it highlighted. It says using this phrase has actually undermined our ability to effectively confront the real challenges we face from fanatics who may use terrorism against us. The damage these three words have done, war on terror, a classic self-inflicted wound, is infinitely greater than any wild dreams entertained by the fanatical perpetrators of 9/11 attacks. When they were plotting against us in distant Afghan caves, the phrase itself is meaningless. It defines neither a geographic context nor our presumed enemies. Terrorism is not an enemy but a technique of warfare. Okay, political intimidation through the killing of unarmed non-combatants. But the little secret here may be that the vagueness of the phrase was deliberately or instinctively calculated by its sponsors. You see, constant reference to the war on terror did accomplish one major objective: it stimulated the emergence of a culture of fear. Fear obscures reason, intensifies emotions, and makes it easier for demagogic politicians to mobilize the public on behalf of the policies they want to pursue. It says the war of choice in Iraq could never have gained the congressional support it got without the psychological linkage between the shock of 9/11 and the postulated existence of Iraqi weapons of mass destruction. All right, which support for President Bush in 2004 elections was also mobilized in part by the notion that a nation at war does not change its commander in chief in midstream. Okay, so the sense of pervasive but otherwise imprecise danger was thus channeled in the uh, politically expedient direction by the mobilizing appeal of being at war. All right, to justify the war on terror. And I'll stop there. Okay, so there you have it. A lot of this, the notion of war on terror or terroristic culture was basically generated. Why? Because they have ulterior motives. Okay. All right, and now for some scriptures. First one is Psalms chapter 49, verses 11. And this goes toward their Georgia Guidestones, their agenda, because just to touch on the point of the whole lesson, is basically all the things that's going on right now, the terroristic culture, the fear mongering, is part of their scheme to bring in that new world order. All right, to take away people's rights and to put people in concentration camps, but the elect, the 144,000, we're going to be exempt, from such of these judgments. Now, and it explains, but it also explains how some of the elect is going to be beheaded. Okay, but it's only to our betterment, So here's Psalms chapter 49, verses 11. All right, and this is to the elites. It says their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. All right. Okay, so basically that's their inner thought. All right, that's why they have the Georgia Guidestones. Okay, and that's why they have certain laws that you know, certain sayings like keeping the world population under 500 million people. Okay, that's a vain thought. All right. Next scripture is Psalms chapter 2, 1. It says, "Why do the heathen rage, and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against His anointed, saying, Let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh; the Lord shall have them in derision." All right. And another word for derision, okay, is basically he's gonna mock at them, and that's what he's doing now, man. All the things that they're doing to try to secure their new world order, the Mosai is basically laughing at them, man. This is Revelations chapter 12 in 12th verse. It says, "Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them." All right. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. Okay, and that's why all these things are boiling over the way they are. Okay, so things are happening in the world that, on a very heightened scale, so much so that people are, you can't, you're not gonna be able to, basically, how can I say, understand what's going on. All right, because things are gonna be happening so fast and so much treachery. It's gonna take place. We're gonna have people dying by the thousands, by the 100,000s, by the millions. And natural disasters and terrorist attacks. So, and that's basically what's headed up the pipeline. Now, Lord willing, let me get the scripture in Matthew. It says, Matthew chapter 24, verses, start at the 21st verse. Salaki. Matthew 24 and 21, it says, "For then shall be great tribulation, such as not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be." Okay, except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Okay, so the whole terroristic culture that we live in now, and the whole military, police, militarization, of the police, and the police basically beefing up on weaponry and some of their resources. This is all, signs of, things getting worse out here. Okay, and it's going to get worse for our people. You know, as in Jeremiah 30:7, it explains the day of Jacob's trouble. All right. This is Jeremiah 30:7. It says, "Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it." Well, these days, it's talking about these days, these last days, okay? Because, like I said, these terrorist attacks that's happening is going to lead to another, uh, you know, set of frameworks defining uh, how the culture is going to be set up, okay? It says, "Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it." All right, so because they're going to bring in things like this, the RFID chip, these are some of the implications. This is why the culture is swinging the way that it is, because these technological advances and all these other things that they're trying to bring towards the culture, all these things are coming in the near future. All these, as a matter of fact, these things are here. You know, RFID chip is here. You can get it coded to certain stores that you want to go to and buy, products from. Okay, it can be coded to certain stores, the products in the stores. Okay, all right. So it's here. All right. Okay. All right. Let me see. Let me see. Just like bear with me for a second. All right. Second Esdras, chapter 2, verses. Chapter 2 and 13. Let me make sure I wrote down the right scripture. Oh, here we go, and this is for the elect. It says, "Go and see." I don't know, it's in Old English. So it says, "Go and see, go and see, Salaki, go and ye shall receive. Pray for a few days unto you, that they may be shortened. The kingdom is already prepared for you. Watch." All right, and this is to the elect. So that's why we see the greater implications behind war on terror, or the terroristic culture that we live in. Okay, we see what's happening. We see the inner workings, basically. Okay. All right. So let me sit on that. Got scriptures written down here. Let's see. Scriptures everywhere. All right. So and take note, early in the video. Early in the lesson, I showed you a video that was happening over there in Europe was going to gradually make its way over here to America. As you can see with all the things that's being done, it ain't nothing but preconditioning. Okay. So I read. Let me see. Did I read Psalms 10? Psalms 10 and 1, it says, "Why standest thou far off, O Lord? Why hidest thou thyself in the times of trouble? The wicked is in his pride doth persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. For the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and blessed the covetous, whom the Lord abhorreth. The wicked through the pride of his countenance will not seek after God, God is not in all his thoughts. All right, and that's talking about Esau, the so-called white man. All right, because he the one that made this terroristic culture, so he can bring in his new world order. All right, or militarize and bring in martial law. Okay, his ways are always grievous. Uh, Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. For all his enemies, he puffeth at them. All right, and it shows you what they do it with their military might. Okay, let me see. All right, next one, Psalms 17, because I got a barrage of scriptures. Let me try to get through them. As a matter of fact, I only have a few more. So. Let me see. Here we go. Psalm 17:12. It says, like as a lion that is greedy of his prey, and as it were a young lion lurking in secret places. Arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. Okay? So the Most High is basically, all this is taking place because of the Most High and his prophecies. All right? We're basically living in hectic times, all right? Where it's, basically all type of things happening in the world. Okay, as far as the terrorist attacks, natural disasters, so on and so forth. Okay, Psalm 64:2, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. Okay, and that's the Illuminati. Okay, they're the ones that have the secret council. They're the ones that bring in the think tanks. They're the ones that's planning for, post-scarcity, terrorist society. They are the ones that's, working on the inner levels to bring out all these things that's happening in the world. But it's the Most High sword, so it's a dynamic to it. The Most High is making these things happen. Because he's coming, and it says that the day of the Lord is darkness, man, and that's what you witness. You witness in darkness. All right, so Job, and I'm gonna try to make this my last scripture. All right, and this is for Esau. Let's see. Let's see if I can find it. It's like, just give me a second. I think it's chapter 5, Job 5. All right, here we go. Job chapter 5. Okay, Job chapter 5. It's like, and I'll start at the 12th verse. Job 5:12. It says, he disappointed the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. All right. So basically, when Esau, the Edomites, tried to capstone their enterprise, which is the New World Order, with bringing in the RFID chip in World War III. All right, the Most High is gonna disappoint them, right? As the Scripture says, He's gonna stop it. Okay. Verse 13, He says, "He taketh the wise in their own craftiness." All right, and the counsel of the froward is carried headlong. All right, they meet with darkness in the daytime, and broke in the noonday as in the night. Okay? So what it means by they meet with darkness in the daytime. I mean, basically, go to it. Chasak, right? Obscurity, right? Basically, destruction, misery. Okay, so in other words, ignorance, sorrow, wickedness. So we use wickedness. It says they meet with wickedness in the daytime and grope in the noonday as in the night. All right. But he saveth the poor from the sword, from their mouth, and from the hand of the mighty. Because what? Their mouth bring in what? Stuff like this, terror, war on terror, which holds greater implications. All right, laws and stuff they bring in, and taking away of rights, and basically honing in on the undesirables and taking them out the way. All right, because here in America now everybody's a terrorist. They're not just making stigmatizing so-called Arabs. Everybody has that stigma now. That they can't be trusted. Okay, so it says, but he saveth the poor, Job 5:15. He saveth the poor from the sword, from their mouth, and from the hand of the mighty. So the poor have hope, and iniquity stoppeth her mouth. All right, and that's their enterprise. Iniquity stoppeth her mouth. All right, because their enterprise come with all sorts of laws that are against the Most High. And against His chosen. So with that, I just close out. I say, call Allah Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, double honors to the apostles and elders at Great Millstone. This has been Anaya Allah with the beloved truth. Shalom.